In this lesson, you're going to be looking at the vertebral column and the bones that make it up. Now the vertebral column extends from the base of the skull all the way down to the pelvis. And most people kind of look at it and say, well, it's a rigid rod. It's necessary to be rigid and stiff. Instead, if you look at the structure, the vertebral column is made up of 26 irregular bones, which means they have no definite shape. They're not long, they're not short. They're basically classified as irregular. These 26 bones that make up this entire column are reinforced with all kinds of ligaments, which we'll look at during this lesson. These ligaments help provide flexibility so the back can do all the things that it is necessary. Notice the vertebral column is shaped kind of like the letter S. And with that S shape like this, it's easy to compress and extend so that the brain is not jarred. So there's always a little bit of give. It's kind of like a little shock absorber into this. The vertebral column is divided into distinct regions. The first part, this first S shape like this, first part of the S, are the cervical vertebrae. Cervical is neck. The second region are the thoracic vertebrae. Next region down here are the lumbar vertebrae. This portion down here, which is a fusion of 5 vertebrae, individual little bones, is called the sacrum. And the very small portion down here, this is the coccyx or tailbone. Now the curves are represented here. This first curve curves forward, anterior curvature. Second curve, the thoracic curve, curves posteriorly, anterior and a posterior curve. So it's always going to go alternating between anterior, posterior, anterior, posterior for all these different curves. Now, the way to remember how many vertebrae are in each section, you're going to have, just think about the meals of the day. Generally people eat breakfast at 7 a.m. 7 cervical vertebrae. Eat lunch around noon, 12 thoracic vertebrae. Eat dinner around 5 lumbar vertebrae. And then remember, the sacrum down here is a total fusion of between 5 or 6. And that number seems to vary sometimes within individuals. Now the rest of this lesson, we're going to be looking at the individual bones, these different vertebrae, because structure relates to function. Whatever the function is for that part of the vertebrae, some parts of the vertebrae are going to need to support less weight. For example, the cervical. Less weight, smaller in size. Lumbar, going to support more of the weight, larger in size. And that's what we're going to be looking at next here as we look at the individual vertebrae.